right, we'll let all of this get through the system. There's a considerable delay between the time I see myself on the real-time screen and the time that it shows up on the other screen, which is real-time going out of YouTube. So we are live. It is a Thursday evening here in beautiful, colorful Colorado, where it is 72 outside. In fact, it's warmer inside than outside right at the moment. Had a good day. My assistant, Tegan, came down and we unboxed this great big mast. It is a clone of Roan mast, almost identical. All I can think of is that they are patent expired, and so people are free to copy them now. And this other mast claims to be made right here in the USA. They're about the same price if you go on Amazon or get it at DX Engineering. If you get it direct for Roan, it's pretty expensive. I didn't think I'd see that big a difference in the price, but apparently there is. Anyway, so as we're waiting for people to gather here, I've got, let's see, Nun is here. Von Ziegel is here. It says hello to all from Don and 6CD. Joe Mercado, KG7GM, very best wishes from Lebanon, Oregon. Well, what have we got going on in the country right now? Fires, floods, drought. It's just quite a mix of weather for what should be a pretty warm, ordinary August. But it's quite something here. For some time now, about a month, I've had laying in the entryway a long, heavy tube, about that big around, and it was packaged very, very securely, and we opened it up today to discover the telescoping whip I had ordered. I got it through Amazon, and it was about the same price as we paid for the other mast that we have out there that was constructed according to some drawings sent by an Augie. And this one is nice and sturdy. We're going to put it up over 132 feet away from the existing mast. It'll be way over on that side. And that way we can actually run 80-meter NVIS antennas and do a little testing with those. I'm getting more questions on NVIS. NVIS is a fairly straightforward phenomenon, and it works well, and a lot of people rely on it for daytime communications. Maybe on 40 and on 80 would be a good time for nighttime communications. And according to YouTube, now would be a good time to insert ads. Okay, I'm not going to do that, though. Don't worry. Okay. I am a little worried about the channel. The stats are down, the numbers are down, the dollars are down. And I think part of it is just that with COVID gone, people are back to their normal activities and have less time to watch videos. I'm still doing the same kinds of videos. I still get very good comments on them. I've got Tegan scouring all the comments to find the comments where people made them a super comment by throwing a couple bucks in and thanking those people for that. There's something weird about the way Google is accounting that I'm not sure I'm getting everything that's coming this way. I remember I had this trouble when I first started the channel, finding the part of Google that would pay me. And the Google financial thing for creators is just Byzantine in its complexity. Very, very hard to find. Not intuitive at all. I ought to be able to go to my page on there and click on things like statistics, dollars, so on and so forth, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So let's see. We've been working today on getting some videos up for the league. I write the Ask Dave column in QST every month, and as part of my contract with them, I need to put an accompanying video that further expands on one of the points. And we made in 2 days 2 videos, August and September. September's QST is out now. You can look at it online. It's a very nice issue. And I did 2 videos on the, let's see what they call the ARRL lab is calling this the Clean Signal Initiative. And so they asked if I could help a little bit by talking about the Clean Signal Initiative. I've put up a couple of videos, one on microphone use and mic gain setting. And I did another one on setting the compression, microphone compression, or audio compression going out. So those are up. I'd appreciate your feedback on those. Another one I want to do is on properly driving an amplifier and all that kind of thing. The problem that we're getting is a simple one and will solve itself with time. But what is happening is that more and more people are getting their general class licenses, and they're hopping on the air, and they don't have the feel or intuition to set their rigs right, and they end up splattering or making a mess. I remember a field day a year ago. I went up to 2 hams at the KE0OG station. They get on the air station. It's supposed to have a person who's operating and is also a coach. And they were having no success calling CQ or anything. And I looked down at the radio and noticed that when they were transmitting, the needle was just all the way to the left. So I sat down and set the mic gain and the compression and the power and all that sort of stuff. And I said, now, and then I said, this is K0, what is it? K0IIT, which is our field day call sign, and calling CQ, and I got immediate response. So I turned it back to them, and we didn't log that contact, but turned back to them so that they could get that going. This year, something went wrong with our KE0OG contacts. We apparently did not collect all the right information. League wanted the names of the people who were operating and so on, which wasn't collected. So I think this next year we'll have to read the rules really carefully. Every year they set the KE0OG rules separately. What's KE0OG? Get on the air. It's an extra station you can have at field day where non-hams or technicians or people, at one point they said people haven't been on in the last year, to come down, sit down, try some HF contacts, try a little bit of, with a contesting feel. Now, I understand that field day is not supposed to be a contest. It is, but we're not supposed to say that. Anyway, I put in our submission to the ARRL, and I think we probably lost a few points on the KE0OG thing because we didn't keep the proper records. Okay, let's see what we've got. Now, for those of you who have not been here or who are fairly new to this, what we do during this live stream, it's sort of the part of the week where we just gather together and chat. And now we've got too many people to do a Zoom video type of thing, just too many. So we do it this way, so you can send your response back via a text response. And if you look on the screen, down here at the bottom, right here, there is chat. This is where you type to put in a comment. If you want to add some a buck or two to that, which is enormously appreciated, you put it right there, and that will come to me. There's also other things you can do there too. You can put in let's see, put in other things. Now I've got a great mystery going on here, and this is me versus OBS. And OBS is the software that I use for streaming. You're looking at an HD camera, which hopefully I have set up so that it sends out HD signal. Nice signal. Then there is this right here, which now, finally, look at the video capture device. Where to go? Is it over here now? Say video capture device properties, and I can go here to configure video, and I can bring that over here, and camera control, I can zoom in, like just on what I've got in front of me right here, okay, for that kind of thing. And the nice thing about this is that it is sharp as a tack. This is the way it's supposed to be. Now, this same camera was giving me trouble. Now, the camera that never gave me trouble, which is the teleprompter view, this is coming out, there's teleprompter right here, and so I can sit there and face that. But look at the quality of the video. First of all, it's been reduced to a 3 or 4x3 dimension, and the quality of the video is horrible. Whereas this camera used to work really well, and the one overhead didn't. And I don't know what I did or anything like that. If any of you have suggestions for setting up OBS to handle 3 cameras, 2 of which are 4K, and one of which is HD, full HD, so that I use it also for recording, because I can do a video right in front of this and use that teleprompter and then look right down at what I have in front of me. I'm perplexed. I mean, I can operate an HF rig, but OBS is, I think, written by software people for software people. And us poor mortals get left out. Okay, so let's see. Leo Gustafson says, Lebanon, Oregon, dip me in buttermilk. Okay, Madison County Sound Labs, good evening from the extreme northwest area of New Jersey. I think you're getting pounded with some rain right now, if the maps on the TV were correct. Glenn Martin, hello from the far west Missouri area. 78 degrees, 34% relative humidity. Sounds relatively comfortable. Robert Varner, hello from KC2TEL in rainy New Jersey. Joe Mercado, tastes better. I think he's referring to the Lebanon, Oregon comment. There's a Lebanon town probably in a lot of states. No, I didn't finish the thought on why we do this. We chat, you can put up things, other people can respond. I kind of spend time looking at what people are having to say. And if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. I'll try and answer it if I can. Even if I have to spend a couple minutes or bring out the whiteboard, we'll see if we can answer it. Okay. COVID. Prepping life. I had a lot of that going around. It must have its own set of news sources and what do they call it, an echo chamber, where people listen to news about the way they like to hear it, and my wife and I are just as guilty as that. We watch NBC News, and we watch, which is Lester Holt, and then we watch the local news, Channel 6, with Kyle Clark, and I am absolutely convinced that my wife is deeply in love with Kyle Clark. I mean, she just really likes that guy. So, it is a good news show. It's got some humor, but also it's mostly investigative journalism in the local area here, trying to find out why things are the way they are rather than just light announcements and then some sports. It doesn't even do sports at all, which is fine by me. Although, of course, it's talking about the Olympics right now. They're doing the show out of Paris so that they can do the Olympics. Anyway, here we are, a group of amateurs, all different political backgrounds. A lot's been happening politically. I think we'll just ignore that and let that play out, because it's going to play out how it's going to play out. And there's not much that can happen, although something almost happened recently that could have changed the chemistry enormously, but fortunately that bullet just touched the top of his ear. And so it was a small little flesh wound. Still, man, I can't imagine coming closer. Okay, let's see. Ralph Leyland, hi Dave and everyone, K4TA in Fork Union, Virginia. Lots of rain. That's what I've heard. Lots and lots of rain. The remnants of Tropical Storm Debbie are going through there. Prepping Life, you helped me get my technician license. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to have been able to do that because it's important to me that what I do be helpful. Okay, Joe Mercado, a man from the 70s. Yeah, well, I was born in the 50s, early 50s, like 1951. Prepping, I mentioned on an earlier one, I just had a birthday, and I'm now the perfect age to be a ham. I'm 73. So, Prepping Life, I'm using your videos to help study for my general and extra class, which must mean you're a league member, and I think that's great. I congratulate you on that choice and give you best wishes on your studies. If something in there gives you a problem, the email askdave@arrl.org is working again. They had that big IT disaster at the league where they had a lot of stuff. The people who did that IT break-in. This was not your standard run-of-the-mill, what do you call it, ransom account or something like that. This was just plain malicious destruction of everything they could get their hands on. And much of it's back, not all of it, but much of it is back. So please use a keyframe frequency of 4 seconds or less. Currently, keyframes are not being sent often enough, which can cause buffering. Current keyframe frequency is 5.9 seconds. Well, let's go to settings and see if we can figure something out here. Keyframes. And we'll put this on the screen. It won't let me do that. Okay. General. I don't see any numbers in there. Appearance, nothing. Stream. All I see is the stream key and the YouTube thing. Output. And let's see the keyframe frequency. I don't see a keyframe frequency. Audio is all audio. Video. Downscale. Common frames per second values. Output. Resolution. Hotkeys. I don't see a keyframe anything here. Accessibility. Okay, and advanced. Video, keyframes. I don't see a thing. Recording, we're not recording. Stream delay. Automatically reconnect, yes please. Network, default. Sources, default. Hotkeys. So I've looked through every setting of OBS and I find nothing that sets a keyframe length. So if one of you have an idea on what that means, please do let me know so that I can give YouTube the keyframe they want. Okay, let's see. Whoops. Leo Gustafson, yep. Look out for that bowl. Chuck Schreiber, good evening, Dave, and all Augies N5 KVO from the hill country of South Texas. Clear 91. Woo, warm. And I would imagine fairly humid too. Leo Gustafson, would anyone have a line on solid or heavy wall half-inch poles? Still trying to repair my hex beam. Well, the worst you can do is go down to Home Depot and get classic iron pipe. That takes serious work to bend, serious work. And not lightweight either, it's very heavy. I used one once in building something for the channel back when I was doing things with the teleprompter every time. And that worked fine, but I think that's too heavy for your antenna. Another place to get tubing is DX Engineering. They almost specialize in it. In fact, that was kind of the first stuff they started to sell. Call them. Tell them what you want. Because in a hex beam, that thing has to bend a little bit. So you're probably going to want a fiberglass pole that'll go through there rather than metal. A metal would have to be formed before it's put up. And anyway, metal is going to interfere with the operation of the antenna. What's up there now is a fiberglass pole. So talk to a local sporting goods store, see if they have anything like that. That could be a fishing line or something that's very strong, likes to unbend and stuff like that. But I think you can find something out there. Now, I have out in the backyard my hex beam, which needs work. I need to take it all the way down and kind of rebuild it. But it's up there with pieces dangling down and so on. I have lowered it so that the edge of it gets close to the ground, propped a ladder under it. But the problem is you can't really get at everything that you need to get at to do proper repairs. One of the problems is that MFJ had these little plastic things that they bent and you would stick on a clip or screw to the poles. And the problem is that that plastic is subject to ultraviolet rays. It's a 5-year-old antenna. And maybe at sea level they would have been fine, but up here at 7,000 feet, we get far more UV than people get down down valley, all the way down the Colorado River until you get into California. So I've got to replace all of those, which means I'm going to have to take the antenna down. What I think I may do one of these days when I'm feeling rich is rent a lift that I can drive up under the antenna, lift myself up, and fix it in place. That would be nice. I really like that antenna, but I've got two bands where there's wires just hanging down. So we'll see what we can do. Okay. So as far as solid or heavy wall, half-inch poles, I would go with fiberglass. I would contact DX Engineering, tell them exactly what you're trying to repair, and see what you can do. So the prepping life is KE0LYC there. Joe Mercado's try spider pole. That's a good idea. Rob Q says, I'm a fine American. Well, I hope so. I try. I mean, if you look up there, that's my dad's flag from his funeral. And I served in the military myself. None, do FT8 SNR numbers mean anything? Yes. What is their reference value? 0. And 0 dB from, now from what? You can look at the manual. I think it's S9. So this will be dB below or dB above S9. And they do mean something. I find if I try to go after a station that's got a pretty low number, negative number way down there, like -23 or something, I'm probably not going to get through. But if I go after somebody who's say a -10, there's a very good chance I'm going to be able to grab that guy. So yeah, FT8 works very well. So the signal to noise ratio, it's actually signal strength. It is, remember that FT8 is a frequency division multiplex over 8 frequencies, but each symbol, which is 13 ASCII characters, each symbol is long enough to fill that. And you've got to look at the whole symbol together because it's code division. Think of it as the parity bits. It's got way more parity bits than data bits. And those parity bits are enough in there, and they're intermingled so that you can get, you know, if there's a momentary fade out or something like that, you can still get the signal. Because things are so spread out. You can't take a letter, like in your call sign, and point to a specific 8-bit character being sent. They don't exactly correlate. There's some code division multiplexing in there too. It's a very sophisticated encryption scheme designed to wrap that small package with lots and lots and lots of parity bits so that on the other end, if there is an issue with even half of the signal missing, you could still recover the text. I have sometimes gone after stations when it's already halfway through. It's like 6 or 7 seconds into that cycle, and I've started transmitting, and I've gotten people. That's because the way the code is constructed, you don't need that much of the signal to deconstruct what's being sent. It's an amazing thing. And it comes from the world of radio astronomy. The problem with radio astronomy is that the Earth creates copious quantities of noise. And you have to set up your receiver so that you can gather that signal mush it together and get out the signal sent by the heavenly body. Now, that's done. There's quite a few different ways you can do that. But what you do is you set up all these different antennas. Each one hears the noise slightly differently, but they hear the radio astronomy signal at the same time. So you can play games with correlation and pull out the signal that you want. When I was working for IBM, I was assigned to a Northrop contract down in Aurora, Colorado, and they were doing what is called in the trade SIGINT, signals intelligence. And this is unclassified if you go through this window. It was an NSA contract. They were doing signals intelligence on radar. And they had a problem that if they recorded everything, they would swamp their storage capability. So they only recorded things that were like 10 dB above the noise floor. Well, I came up with a method for finding and identifying noise signals 10 dB below the noise. And it worked really well. I got a patent out of it, or got my name on a patent out of it with one other person who happened to be an IBM fellow who was the one who kind of guided me through this. And it's very interesting. We used some fairly sophisticated mathematical techniques to look for correlated signals in the noise. Because noise is generally, not always, generally uncorrelated. So these are the kinds of things that they're doing with FT8. And it's absolutely fascinating. In fact, he reveals the actual coding method and why it's there. And these are the kinds of things that as you decode, you've got, okay, bit 1, you do, well, I'm 75% certain it's a 1, but 25% it's a 0. So you keep going through this trellis, refining and refining and refining and refining until you meet your criteria for how certain you are. I guess all the space probes have got a convolution like 7 code, and now you use trellis decoding to decode this. And as it turns out, the early computers could get them when they were this long. As the computers got better, the probes got further away from Earth. So they were able to extend the trellis. It takes an inconceivable amount of computer power to decode signals from Voyager 1 and Voyager 2, and yet we still get data from them. It's because our capabilities have expanded. Okay, let's see. So that's a little bit about FT8. Chris Goodman, K0BLU, hello Dave and everyone from St. Cloud, Minnesota, where it's clear in 66. Nice. McCammer Coach, what would be a good antenna and coax analyzer? I have an ATAS 120 and a B for me Comet CHA. Can the analyzer be left inline all the time? No. Oh no. CAM VE5 MCR in Saskatchewan. Let me show you. I'm going to come around to the overhead image. It's this one, I think. Okay, here we go. This right here is a nano VNA. Now this is a balun for an antenna that I'm in the process from Alpha Antenna. It was given to me at Dayton. And so I've got a little 100-watt resistor there. Let's get a little bit more light on this. Okay. Little 100-watt resistor right here. And it's connected between ground and the tip of the balun. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on inside the balun. So This right here is an NOVNA. And I did something in a recent episode where I talked about what you can do with an NOVNA. And you can, and I'm going to go to the screen here and bring up NanoVNA, the saver. It's NanoVNA saver. Okay, and you can see a little bit of it right here. I'm going to connect to the device, which is COM4. And now I'm going to set the settings. It goes up to gigahertz. I'm going to set this for 1800 kilohertz up to 30 megahertz HF band. Okay, and now I'm going to sweep. Okay, and this is what I'm getting here. This is the SWR of this balun. It's holding level at about 3 to 1. Okay, now S11 is the absolute value of the SWR. I'm sorry, S11Z. SWR is up here, Viswar. Okay, there's lots of things that you can do with this. You can go up to, I'm not sure if this is going to come up in the thing here, but I'll go ahead and do it. Display setup gives you a million different ways to set up the display. Down here are the charts that are showing, and you can set anything that you want here and have this thing read it for you. Okay, let's put things back here. Now, turn that down. And this one. These are about $50 to $60. Okay, $50 to $60. It's much less expensive than a classic antenna tuner. I have looked at many different antenna analyzers. Oh, and I said antenna tuner here for the VNA. It should be antenna analyzer. It's actually a vector network analyzer, but let me tell you where to get it. This is also where you get the tiny spectrum analyzer. The thing is, these are open source. So lots and lots and lots and lots of people make them, sometimes not very well. This comes via R&L, RANDL.com. Okay, and this is the network analyzer. I'm sorry, yeah, it's a spectrum analyzer that you can get for them for a very low price too, and they're accurate, reasonably accurate. This is not lab-grade test equipment, but then you're not paying lab-grade prices for it either. So it's R&L Electronics, and you can see the randl.com. Okay, and so I bought my first VNA from, of all people, Walmart. It was on their page. And so I've got this one. It works, but it didn't come with all the little extras that I would have thought it should have come with. Okay, so if you get it from R&L, you get one that you know has traceability back to the people who actually designed the thing. They don't get any money because I don't know if they get some arrangement with R&L, but they suggest R&L. Okay, so my best one that I've ever had for an antenna analyzer is this ancient MFJ 259B. They're up to the D model now. I don't know how easy these are going to be to get a hold of. But the nice thing about this being somewhat analog is that you can tune around not just inside the band, but outside the band and find out where that null really is. And you figure out whether you need to lengthen or shorten the antenna. These do not go in place. These are actually little radio transmitters themselves. They'll put a tiny signal down the coax, and they will look at the reflection that comes back down the coax. And it's the same thing that the tiny VNA does. Now, the thing is that if you are near somebody else transmitting a strong signal, you can throw these things off. But this, look how big it is. Don't fill it with batteries because the batteries don't last long. I use a separate plug-in right there with the big battery. Okay, and this can do many other things regarding coax, like length and stuff like that. And I believe the D can operate on other than 50 ohm impedance. Okay, so you can also borrow one. The analyzer cannot be left in line because, like I said, it's a little radio transmitter and receiver of its own. It will get utterly swamped and probably burned out. Okay, Von Ziegel has left $10 in chat revenue and a like. Thank you very much. Von Ziegel is from Don N6CD. Thank you. Lefty, good evening. Dave and Augie's Worldwide is 74 here in Davenport and clear. Oh, great. It's cooled down a little bit. Let's see. Okay, I'm up here, I think. John Cheney, your audio got much worse when you switched over. I'm sure it did because each one takes a different. Let's see what I get when I do the screen. I'm not sure which one of these is going out, to tell you the truth. Okay, let's go back to Logitech. That's the camera that's right there. It's a 4K camera. Nice camera. Gotta go much worse. I hope the audio is okay now because it's coming right out of this Logitech thing. I put up a compact antenna with the NMO counterpoise it was made with, but not having a proper place yet. I put it atop the mast of an existing HDTV Yagi antenna. Seems to be working fine. What's the old saying? If it works, don't fix it. If the thing works for you, great. And assume your TV is working fine too. Paul C, VK4 from Down Under. Of course, they have down there what they call a corrective map of the world, with the South Pole at the top and the North Pole at the bottom, which puts them at the top and us down under. So there you go. Greetings from an overcast and slightly chilly Brisbane. Any temp under 20 degrees C is chilly in Brisbane. Prepping life quad 6 about a month ago so that I can get on 10. Yeah. Chris Goodman. Let's see if I can get his full call here. No, it won't tell me. Chris Goodman, K0. Into channel now. Weird week in the monsoon season in Minnesota. 3 to 4 inches of rain over 48 hours earlier this week. That's a lot of rain, and that can do a real deed on the roads. Chris has given me a like and $20 in chat revenue. Thank you very much. McCamera Coach, I volunteer coach outdoor sports. I only use Wi-Fi and iPhone and iPad as cameras. Wi-Fi from Mr. Musk. That's where we're right now too. We're on Starlink. It's interesting they came out with the name Starlink because the Subaru car company uses Starlink for its emergency system. In fact, it's automatic. If it detects that you're in a crash, it will send an automatic SOS to a satellite. And you can talk to them if, for example, like both tires go flat. I mean, you've got a problem. You can talk to them from anywhere and get help. And it does it via the Starlink. Also keeps track of your engine parameters and tells you when things are bad. So they called that Starlink, and they're still calling it Starlink. I would think Musk has enough money to buy out any of that. But that is, we got one of the little ones for the RV, and we found when we were in the upper Arizona desert, upper northeast Arizona desert, around Tisnospos, as a trading post out there. That's about all that's out there. And that is where our coach ended up when it was, we had the engine blowout on us. Probably my fault. I probably didn't check the oil. Dumb of me, because every time I flew an airplane, it was part of the pre-flight to check the oil and top it up if you needed to. The thing didn't burn or leak oil, so it was very rare to have to top it up. But anyway, we discovered out there there's zero cell service. So our phones, our iPhones, allow us to make a call using local Wi-Fi if we want. And so we did that, and we were able to go up over Starlink and make a bunch of phone calls to line up somebody to come out and drag the rig all the way up to Cortez. Actually, they didn't drag it. They put it on the top of a flatbed semi-truck. And that was an amazing thing to see. Anyway, I got word from the shop that they have obtained a rebuilt engine. They think they might have it in by tomorrow. I'm going to give them another week because it always takes longer than you think. And so hopefully soon we'll have that back. Okay, let's see. Could you talk about more exotic noise canceling strategies? For instance, could atmospheric noise be canceled by using two Yagis pointing opposite with a special receiver setup? What was done during the 40s and 50s for overseas telephony, this is telephone, was gigantic antennas separated by several miles, powerful transmitters on either side of the Atlantic, and they use what is called diversity reception. If one antenna, the signal faded, it would usually still be strong on the other. So these antennas went into a receiver that compared the signal strength and took the stronger signal and gave you a remarkably solid signal across the Atlantic, very reliable. Now, for the South Pacific and stuff like that, they used rhombics. A rhombic can take 3 acres to put up. They put up rhombics and used those. And of course, rhombics you can't rotate, and the takeoff angle from that, there's a mathematical formula for the takeoff angle, but when I model a rhombic, the takeoff angle is nearly zero. It just comes right off of that thing straight and will hit the ionosphere as far away as you can get. So they do very well. As far as other things that can be done, there are attempts at noise cancellation. What you're looking for is information, by definition, has entropy, which is, just think of it as a mathematical thing. It's a heat thing, but think of it as a mathematical thing. It's a measure of correlation. Our voices are correlated. The next millisecond, sample of our voice from 1 millisecond before are going to be very correlated to each other. And if you get some weird spike like that, you can delete it. Okay, so this is how it works. Noise tends, unless it's man-made, noise tends to be uncorrelated. Okay, now the most effective noise filter I've ever used was the one from TimeWave. It was originally from AEA. I got one from TimeWave, and oh my, it was a DSP 599 Plus or Plus Plus or something like that. It works strictly on audio, and oh man, it did a good job. I could pull almost any signal out of the ether. My FTDX3000 also, I could pull almost any signal out of the ether using these techniques. So it's correlated versus uncorrelated. And you've got to look at lots of samples. And there's a delay in there because you're looking not only at the samples behind that moment, but the samples after that moment. You can only go forward so far into the future, and you got to clock that back to time 0, so your actual signal output is delayed. This is why there's a delay on cell phones. You know, you try to interrupt somebody just as they're trying to interrupt you and so on. There is a little delay built into the line here. Okay, I think I skipped Maltese fan. Hi Dave from K6PX, having trouble getting an end-fed antenna to function 40 through 10 with an AT2K tuner. I guess my question is, if you've got a 49-to-1 balun and you've got the thing in the air at all, you don't need that tuner. HOA restrictions hamper. You could do the inverted L, you could do the sloper. It can slope up as well as down, remember. And the league makes theirs with gray wire insulation, which makes it very hard to see. Okay, so it's specifically for that problem. If the thing has been put up properly, now, tip, use a fairly long piece of coax, like 20 feet or more, 30 feet, 40 feet. And you coil up the extra coax down, doesn't matter. And then the coax shield will act as the counterpoise for the antenna. You rarely need to run a separate counterpoise with those things. Usually the length of coax will do it. Don't try it with a real short antenna, it doesn't work. Also, the balun should be 49-to-1. If you try it 9-to-1, you've got a lot less chance of making that thing work. Now, can you use an antenna analyzer on it? Yeah, first, but I would check the SWR first, and then you should be able to get all of 40 and 20 and 15 and 10, and maybe even 6. Now, if you lengthen that wire from its 40-meter length, which would be about 63, 64 feet, all the way out to 130 feet, and string that up, and it can be an inverted V, whatever you want to do, you'll pick up 80, not 60, 40, 30, 20, 17, 15, 12, and 10. And using the same transformer. I've done it with the League's antenna. I've done it, and it does work. So do what you can. You know, you can put it's in the other room, the balun up under the eaves, and then just the gray wire going out, and there's nothing that says that gray wire has to be straight. But I would make it the proper length as it tells you in the instructions, and you should be able to get a pretty good match on that. Now, notice that any tuning you do will affect all the bands. So if you shorten it slightly, the frequency goes up on all the bands. So you're probably going to find that the end-fed half wave on 40 gets the lower part of the band for FT8, things like that. Single sideband, you're going to have to use your little tuner or whatever you've got. 20, it should cover the whole band. 15 will cover much of the band, and 10, it covers the bottom portion where most activity is anyway. The upper portion above 29 megahertz is mostly FM. Leo Gustafson says, happy birthday, Dave. Thank you. I told my wife the only thing I wanted for my birthday was strawberry shortcake, and I got it. In fact, we had enough left over to share with some friends. Happy birthday, Dave. Spy Sweeper just got bad weather here in North Olmsted, Ohio. A tornado touched down last Tuesday night, just got power a few hours ago. Oh man, that's got to be scary. You know, growing up in Southern California, earthquakes don't scare me, but what scares me are tornadoes, because I've never had any experience with them. I guess when you stop and think about it, the probability that a tornado is going to take down your house is very low. And that's why your homeowner's insurance rates are somewhat reasonable. Now, one of the problems is the housing prices have gone way up. And with it, almost linearly, the home insurance rates have gone up. But see, they run probabilities and statistics like crazy to figure out what your premium should be based on like the likelihood of a tornado and so on. You know, a tornado goes all the way across the state. You'd have to be in an airplane to look down and see the path, because I don't think you could see it from space unless you've got a really good satellite camera up there. I don't think the human eye could see it from space. It's such a thin line. Now, believe me, trying to tell that to people who just got hit by a tornado is not going to get you anywhere, but still. McCammer Coach, I visit the States. I know you guys will work things out. Oh, yeah, we always do. I mean, the last time that representatives in the House of Representatives physically attacked each other, I mean, fisticuffs, was before the Civil War. And it had to do with the stuff leading up to the Civil War. We made it through the Civil War. It was an extremely expensive war to fight. And not only in lives, but also in treasure. Now, what did the Civil War give us other than a broken South and lots of problems that remain to this day? One is, it was the very first time in American history where anyone had done something big. Moving an entire army from Gettysburg to so-and-so. You're talking thousands of people of pieces of equipment, horses, feeding the horses, all this kind of stuff. The nation learned how to undertake large projects. And then, when the Transcontinental Railroad is actually approved right after the Civil War, it was actually approved before the Civil War, but it got underway after the Civil War. A lot of the people who built it on the eastern side were Civil War veterans, a lot of Irish immigrants. And we knew how. Guess who built the eastern part of the railroad? General Dodge from the Civil War. He knew how to gather, organize, and mechanize these forces to do something as incredible as lay a pair of rails from the Mississippi River to the Sacramento River. And it worked. Now, yes, I realize there was an enormous amount of corruption and all this, that, and the other, but we did it. We did it. So, yeah, America's got the spirit to do it. I do not fear for the country like it was for a while, but I do not. there's a lot of people. There's a thing about these populist uprisings, which this is. That's what's going on. That would be the historical name for what's happening. There are a lot of reasons for it. But those movements, we've had them several times before in the United States. Okay? And they always fizzle out because people get tired of them. And I think we're beginning to see that a little bit here. So, we'll just stay tuned. We've survived a lot more than we still can. I mean, after all, most people, almost all people, voluntarily pay their taxes. Very nearly everyone drives on the correct side of the road. If something goes bad, there's a fire or something, all neighbors of whatever political stripe are going to jump in to help save people. I mean, fundamentally, we're American and not into these parties. I think it's going to work out okay. Okay. Says in Canada, we're extremely dry, wildfires harvest in full swing. Yeah, if you could do something for me up in Canada is put a barrier so that smoke doesn't come down here. I've got asthma, and you can hardly see the mountains for the smoke. So can I get the airflow in the other direction and send it over the North Pole or something? It is pretty bad. My camera coach says good night, his battery's low. Tim Webb, happy birthday, Dave. None keyframes are a codec thing for compression. Check your camera settings, maybe. I'll do that. Okay, there is a little camera setup thing from Logitech. All three cameras are Logitech. And there's a, let's see, Logitune. Okay. Now, for some reason, they've only got two devices here. Oh, there's the three devices. So I can look at each device and do image adjustments. Let's see. Low light, anti-flicker. I'm not seeing anything on any of them. They've all got the same stuff. Anyway, this is the software settings. That has nothing to do with the technical. Okay, well, thanks for pointing that out. I appreciate that. Okay, night battery low. Happy birthday, Dave. Thank you. Codec Thing Von Ziegel has added $10 and 2 likes to the channel funds. Thank you so much. Dave, did you get my QSL card? K0BOW. Glad to see you on the air tonight. Let's see, they usually go in here. Somebody wrote me a very nice note. Do you remember when you talked to me? I'll look at the log because I make a check mark when I get QSLs. Tell me date and time, UTC, and I'll what. Okay. How's the RV these days? Well, Terrence 2 Echo 0 India Papa Kilo in London, where it is 2:45 in the morning. Yes, I blew out the engine on the way to the Santa Fe, not Santa Fe, wrong state, other way, Flagstaff Hamfest, which was nice. I mean, it was a local Hamfest, and I just kind of went for the fun. It turns out that my wife found lots and lots and lots of XYLs there, hams, female hams, and she had a ball talking to everybody. She even brought home one lady's contact information so they could keep in touch. And I gave my little presentation to about 12 people, but I think by then most people were out at the flea market or talking to the vendors. Anyway, the engine blew out, and one of the rods or something. Anyway, we got incredible tail, of course, to get the thing to Cortez in Colorado that had the facilities to fix it. Now, I knew Cortez had the facilities to fix it. The challenge was to find out where they were. So the first thing we did was went to the Chevy dealer because it's a Chevy chassis. And they turned us down and said, we don't have anything that can lift that thing. So they sent us over to another guy who had the capability to lift it, but he says, nah, I only work on diesels. So I said, this is the thing. No, thank you. Do you have any other suggestions? He suggested a place called State Line Repair that used to be on the state line, but isn't anymore, but it's in Cortez. And took it up to him, talked to him. Yes, he was happy to get it. So now we had to marry two things together. We ended up going back to Tisnospos so we could be there. And we had to arrange for the truck to get there. Our insurance company, Progressive, will handle towing, but not that much. So as it turned out, Good Sam was the partner of choice. They claim that they'll get you out of anywhere. But they took the RV up to this state line repair place, which looked like a let's say I don't think a cleaner's been through there in quite a while. And I kind of like those places because the people in them tend to really know what they're doing. And we talked to him at length, and we got down to Technospos again. It's a bit of a drive, and then used our phone over the Starlink to arrange for it to be towed there. And it wasn't towed, it was trucked there. And that part worked, so we followed that in. And the next morning, we went over to see the guy who runs the place and made arrangements, talked about everything, decided on a course of action, and he's implementing that right now. He's got a replacement rebuilt engine. You can't get them new anymore. A replacement rebuilt engine that is going into that thing this week, should be going in as we speak. He has told me he will have it done tomorrow. I'm going to give a little bit of slack on that. And when he does have it done, I'll go down to Cortez, pick it up, and bring it home. That's not that far from here to Cortez. And if it is later in the day when I get it, there's a couple of very nice RV parks right in Cortez. It's hard to find RV parks in the core of cities. You won't find one in, say, Phoenix, within 10 miles of the interior or even more. RV parks are looked down upon because what happens is gradually they fill up with permanent residents. They sort of turn into trailer parks over time. Now, the big names like KOA and so on have ways of kind of keeping that under control, so that the RV park is mostly for transient tenants, and that's fine. I remember staying at an RV park in Price, Utah, where actually it was Wellington, Utah, where most of the people in that park were permanent residents. And oh my goodness, they'd let their RVs fall apart. And so I made a circle of the place and got out and was surrounded by children, all kinds of children. They kind of ran around as a pack. And they seemed friendly enough, and since they were friendly enough, the adults were friendly enough. And having done that, I went over and found my official site, one of 3, that was for transients, and slept quite soundly there. I did very well with that. Now, one of the problems with this thing that we had with the RV was that meant that when we took our Jeep from Tesnos Post and went to Flagstaff. We had to stay in a hotel 2 nights. And then we come back and end up in Cortez and we stay 2 nights in a hotel. So we're $600 or $700 in the hole. Whereas if we'd been in RV parks, it would have cost 150, something like that. So yeah, it's the way it is. That's why you keep a reserve. Now, of course, I use part of the channel funds to pay for the trip to Flagstaff to get us there. Okay. So Mike, let's see if you sent anything. Oh, I'll get it. That's how the RV is right now. Okay, DX Engineering, and do mention my name when you say that. They know me. Your local metal supply warehouse will have way better prices than Home Depot or anywhere online. Probably, but which I think you're looking for is a fiberglass rod. Home Depot prices on metal are outrageous. Absolutely true. Leo Gustafson sends $10 in channel revenue. Thanks you, Dave, for all your help and insights. Doug Dry, who is sponsoring this old telephone here, he says, good evening, Dave and all Augies from Doug KD4NC in Kennesaw, Georgia. Treadmill mobile tonight. I think that means that your power must be out. Georgia, no, that's a little north of that. And here is an update from Jeff McFarlane. Hi, Dave, KD9ZSL. Passed my general last weekend. Congratulations to you on doing that. That is a significant step forward in your ham radio career. Now, if I may, I would suggest that you go to dcasler.com/reference. That will tell you all the things you need to buy to get a station on the air. Now, the antenna I'm going to have to change because MFJ is no longer making them. So I will recommend the ARRL N-Fed 40 through 10 antenna, which is about the same price and does as well, if not better. Okay, so get on the air. My recommendation is that when you get your general, you stop studying and start getting on the air. Getting on the air practice, learning what the bands are, how they work, what time of day the bands are open, what time they aren't, how to correlate, the news about lots of aurora because of the geomagnetic storm wipes out ham radio. How to recognize those types of events, how to properly ground your equipment, finding a club that you like that's near you. You may have to do a little club shopping to find a club that you like. Club shopping just means going around visiting different clubs and picking the one or ones that you want to join. And the club finder is at the ARRL. You can put in the search bar up there, club finder, and it'll take you right to it. Those are the ARRL affiliated clubs, and that's what I would recommend. Now, also, after you get on the air, 2 years, I recommend doing this, and then going for your extra, and it will mean so much more to you when you do that. So congratulations to you, Jeff, for getting yourself on HF and enjoy all this good stuff. John Brace, K9BRS, checking in from near Indianapolis. 70 degrees now, a welcome change from the hot weather the past couple weeks. Playing with the new Xiegu X6100 for POTA use. So far, like it. Okay, Xiegu is a Chinese company. You can get their stuff on Amazon and stuff like that. As far as getting service, I don't know how well they're set up in the U.S. for that, but I think they now ship from the U.S. The X6100 is a fairly new radio. These are HF radios. They're 20 watts. either 5 or 20 watts. It's because in most of the world, amateurs are limited to 20 watts. We're the unusual ones here. POTA is Parks on the Air. There is a Parks on the Air book from the League. If you want to learn about Parks on the Air, this is the book right here, okay? And this will tell you everything you know. Basically what they're doing is they're numbering all the state parks and national parks, recreation areas, national forest, all this kind of stuff, public lands. And the idea is you go activate one of these parks. You go there, set up a portable station, and work as many people as you can. You need to work at least 10 for it to count for an activation. And then chasers are people in stations just like mine who are tuning around looking for people in these parks. We get points too. We don't even have to file a report because they get that off of the reports filed by the activators. Okay, it's really fun. Now, I would be careful unless you are completely independent and operating from your car or something like that. If you're going to set up anything, get in touch with the people in charge. A common thing, no stakes in the ground. No stakes in the ground. That means even these little, no, I don't know if I've got it here. Here you see in this antenna thing, these metal stakes, about 10 inches long, they look like knitting needles. No stakes. Why no stakes? Because you have no idea where their underground sprinkler pipes are. And that stake will go right through a plastic pipe. And so what you do is you've got to put out there like a cement block and tie your guy rope to that so that you make zero impact below the ground. Now, what do you do for a ground? Well, on the assumption that you're not going to operate while a lightning storm is in progress, the purpose for a ground is to act as a counterpoise and reduce noise. You can use the chassis of your car to do that, okay? As in all mobile operations, okay? The primary purpose for grounding is lightning, but a secondary purpose is reduction of noise in your signal. Now, there was a big, much ballyhooed presentation at Dayton by the ARRL first vice president, and this was Kristen. And she worked for Apple and is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I've talked with her a number of times, and she's quite a gal, but she did a presentation saying grounding wasn't necessary. Well, it may not have been where she lives. Do I have my little map right here? I do somewhere. There it is. Lightning strike, they do happen. This happens to be a picture of the United States that was in our local newspaper. Out in California, they had 9 people killed by lightning between 2006 and 2023. That's less than 1 a year. But you notice you get east, you get more lightning storms. Now, I've had a station that suffered a direct hit from a lightning strike. It was witnessed by a guy across the street who saw my antenna literally vaporize. And my station is very thoroughly grounded. The real reason I did it at first was because I had just installed the Butternut HF9V out there, and it was grounded. It's pretty well grounded. And I brought the cable into the radio, and it was just S9 noise. And so, just out of curiosity, I had a coax barrel connector connecting 2 pieces of coax. I touched that to ground, the ground rod, or the wire coming from the ground rod. And noise disappeared. because now the only thing my antenna picks up, that's a different antenna now, is what's outside. It doesn't pick up stuff in the house because all the stuff in here is grounded. Now, Kristen, who's the ARRL First Vice President and a remarkably brilliant person, I'm sure she has many patents to her name, she has done something most of us don't do, and that's load up all our equipment with ferrite beads so it won't interfere with anything in there. And great, you can do that too. But I would recommend a solid ground. If ever there's been a thunderstorm in the area, and that's the entire United States, the only one that had a 0 in here, I think, was Washington State. Had a big fat 0 for lightning strikes. Now, the lightning capital of the world is Tampa, Florida. They had, in that period of time, 88 lightning fatalities. Now, that's just kind of a measure of the frequency of thunderstorms and so on. I looked online at where these people were when they were struck by lightning. None of them was killed indoors. None. Now, others were, going to their car or playing golf or whatever, but none of them were in the house. So, moral of the story, lightning storm, get in the house. Okay, and if your system is correctly grounded, you don't have much to fear. Okay, let's see. Spider Pole, thank you. Prepping Life, thank you for your service. You're certainly welcome. There are many, many other people who have been in the service. Now, my Jeep and my wife's Subaru both have our call signs on them. We didn't know quite what to do with the RV, so I got one of those Colorado signs that says honorably discharged veteran. And I had to prove that to the DMV to get that license plate. Actually, it comes from the county clerk. And I've had people stop and say that to me, including the driver of the tow truck down in Technospos. He thanked me for my service, said he was a veteran himself, so I repaid the favor. The reason I do this is simply if we get pulled over by a cop in Nebraska, the first thing that cop's going to see as he walks toward the front of the vehicle is honorably discharged veteran, because a lot of cops are veterans, and they tend to treat veterans a little titch more leniently. So there we go. Okay. Okay. By the way, Doug Dry won last month's giveaway. This month's giveaway is a couple. One's digital, one is strictly plastic, but they're two microscopes for like middle school kids. So if you have children or grandchildren in that age, you might want to enter that. Send your QSL card, a postcard, or a letter to me, Dave Casler, KE0OG, P.O. Box 98, Ridgeway, Colorado, 81432, and put on there somewhere that it's for the July giveaway. I'm sorry, for the August giveaway. And then I'll draw from that group. I haven't given away a radio in a while, but I've been organizing the other room because my wife wants to use it as a guest room, so I got a bunch of tubs to put things in. And the tub with radios in it is just getting out of control. People keep sending them to me. And I've been telling most people, no, please. Okay, where are we here? Larry in Manila, DU1/N6HPX. Good morning from Manila. Last week I took the Class B and apparently did not pass it. The study material I got was not even the same questions on the exam. The FAA used to have study guides, like the league does, that listed the questions and the right answers. They've moved away from that. Now they're going by subject area, and I took my written test and got a 90 on it, and 2 questions I didn't know the answer to, and 2 that I screwed up. And 2 years later, I still hadn't gotten my license, so I had to retake the doggone test. It expires after 2 years. Got another 90, but boy, most of the questions I'd never seen before. So, okay. We'll ask PARA, the Philippine Amateur Radio Association, to see if they can get the results. I had to leave early as my driver had an unexpected situation. Lanuma Cumbry, hello Dave. Is it best to mount an end-fed ballon box 49-1 with 135 feet of wire close to the ground or higher up? You can, okay, when I first tested this, it was a My Antennas end-fed half wave. And I had the box 7 feet up on a mast right there, going up 20 feet to the halfway point and just looping through and then way over to a tree the other side. And it worked great. So you can slope up from the box, you can slope down, you can slope and take a jog. There's lots of things that you can do. Okay? It says, thanks, enjoy your live streams, KC8LJF. Larry said the word, I was told test had the same questions on the general class. I was told the club the last time I took that exam was in 1982. Okay, and Larry is now studying for the questions from the QRZ practice. Prepping life, are there any tips or tricks for setting up a dipole antenna inside of my garage? Well, your garage can probably only handle a fairly small dipole. In fact, for 20 meters, the antenna is 33 feet long. 33 feet long. Most garages aren't that big. You can, droop the corners a little bit. I would be a little leery of putting an antenna where there's fuel. You can try in your attic. I'm assuming you've got HOA problems. MFJ made, at least for a short time, H4VE, something like that, antenna that's under 18 feet tall, so it can hide behind your house, can hide inside a tree, and it's 40, 20, 15, and 10. And not that expensive, less than $300. They sent me one to test, and then they announced they're going to wrap up their business, which is a shame. I don't know who's going to pick up for them. Somebody has to. Okay. So, yeah, you can do that. You can actually take it all the way across and then droop the ends down and feed it in the middle. Okay, that would work. Best way to do it. Woo Rider DG, hello from Florida. God bless to all. 100, is that 100 or 700? Looks like 700. Douglas V. Amateur Radio and more. Shalom, peace. Tim Backus, just had a big storm come through Tucson. Glad antennas were disconnected. Prepping life, what is the garage made of? Yeah, you've got a problem if there's any metal between you and the other side. Some foam insulation put up against the side of a house before they put on the outer, whatever it is, has a foil backed to keep the thing together. Some is plastic, some is foil. If it's foil, you got problems. Okay. Love my MFJ 259D. Okay, we've got to go down here. He's Dave Nolan. Dave Nolan is a guy I knew at IBM when I was in Boulder. Great guy. Ham, he's now in Chandler, Arizona. Says, happy birthday. The Chandler Ham Radio Club is looking forward to hearing from you this coming Saturday. And this is his first super chat on a live stream. So Dave, thank you and congratulations to you for that. People enjoy this stuff a lot. Yeah, I'm still a little kind of iffy on what I'm going to talk about, but we'll talk about something, okay? Because I've got tomorrow to prepare. My assistant won't be back until Saturday. He is turning out to be a wonderful assistant. I don't know if you've noticed any of the latest videos. He's very careful to make a continuous audio stream and leave out the uhs and ahs and unnecessary breaks and things like that. Now, I have told him the value of silence, so that between thoughts there should be some silence and so on. But he's just really working out super, absolutely super. Larry said the deep space net had a loss of signal from Voyager due to rain. Well, I'm not surprised. We are in a case where communication with Voyager is done not on a 90% sure basis, but on like a 5% sure. They just keep trying and trying and trying until it works. Okay, 3 Henry 21 has added $25. He says, late to the party, happy birthday, Dave. Mine is in a few weeks, turning 71. Congratulations. Conrad KN6VMK. Let's see, voluntary pay taxes. No, I mean that. You go over to the Philippines, where I was for a couple of years on a mission, and people don't. They'll do everything to cheat on taxes. The percentage of Americans that cheat on taxes is remarkably low. And when I say voluntarily, that means we voluntarily comply with the law. We voluntarily comply with the law. And, there's talk about ghost guns, guns that aren't registered. Those are very much in the minority. Almost all guns are registered to people who've taken the necessary courses to have them safely. Of course, you hear occasionally of somebody who doesn't take care of it safely, but that's way in the minority. So I'm saying that in the U.S., we don't like to pay taxes, but we do pay taxes. Okay, hope that clears it up. 3 Henry 21. Okay, Conrad, thank you so much for the chat revenue. We are out of time. If you have two identical antennas very near each other, is the atmospheric noise between them correlated strongly, even if the noise itself is essentially random? Absolutely. You've got to separate the antennas. Now, one thing you can do, and you can try this at home, a horizontal or a vertical crossed by dipole, or up like this or something like this, a little ways away from each other, like on the other side of the yard, and you get what's known as, now you're going to get, if it's coming off the ionosphere, it's circularly polarized anyway, but you can get a little bit of polarization diversity in your signals like that, which is really cool. Okay, very good. So thank you all very much. I will see you next week. I'm going to put the notice for next week's up right now so that we can get that there. Okay, so until we next meet, 73.